What's up, everybody? Welcome to Mongols. You guys know where you can find us. You can watch us live. If you are watching us live, feel free to leave some comments, and we'll put some of those up there and talk about them. Yeah, with me tonight, I've got Mondo, and we're going to talk about the Hounds over the weekend against Hartford. Yeah, let's go. Mondo, how are you doing?
Doing good. I'm doing good. It was a great weekend. I can tell you that. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Loving that the weather's been a little bit cooler. I've had the windows open as much as I can. Dog sitting for my neighbors, so I've got a 12-year-old dog downstairs that she can't make it up the steps too much and can't go on long walks. So easy going, but that's kind of been the main things this weekend. Uh, yeah, you know what? The Hounds got a new kit. Let's take a look at it.
Yeah.
Tell me your thoughts on this.
So I actually really like it. I'm I'm okay. Preface this: I'm a sucker for a sash kit. I went
Yeah.
hunting for my sash kit actually to wear, and it's a signed kit, so I have it like kept, so I can't wear it. Because I have the US sash kit. That's actually one of my favorite US kits is the sash. I love that this is like a new take on a sash.
Okay. Yeah.
Like it's a unique take on a sash kit, and I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I am often the type of person that white jerseys I just kind of am never a big fan of. I mean, I've got the yellow polka dots from a couple seasons ago. I did like up close, like the one last year with the gold, like zigzag pattern on it. This blows those away.
Oh yeah,
I like.
I don't think we need another
Say,
jersey. We should just keep this one.
I am a sucker for good sleeve piping and a good collar accent, and this has that. And I think it is one of the most beautiful kits I've ever seen the Hounds have.
Oh yeah. No,
Yeah.
I will be getting this kit. I will be wearing
Nice.
this kit.
Nice. Are you going to get just like a plain one? Or are you going to get a name on the back? You get a player name? You're going to get your name? Or you're going to get Mondo, not your name?
I might get Mondo on there.
Okay.
I'm of two minds. Either I'm going to do Mondo and then put my number, which is shared by Biasi,
Okay.
on there, or just a blank kit. We have a little bit too much turnover for me to be fully comfortable putting a player's name on it. I know there's a handful of players, and we'll get to them, that are probably staying next year based on their performance last couple of weeks, or should stay based on their performance last couple of weeks. But this being the USL, I know that's no guarantee.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's dive in. I mean, we had a game.
There we go. Victory beverage.
Yeah. So Hounds had Hartford at home this weekend. Man, what a game. I mean, especially the first half that turned out to be. I'll say going into this game, I had pretty tempered expectations. Last week against Oakland, I was not expecting to see fireworks again. But we got to see some fireworks. So just, a quick rundown of the game. Fourth minute, Sample passes the ball to Etu, who streaks into the box from the left side. He gets taken down. And the ref made no bones about it. I mean, he instantly pointed to the spot, right? Like, it wasn't like he hesitated or anything. I think the biggest surprise about that was I would have not expected to see Eddie Kizza step up for that penalty, but it looked like that had to have been the plan beforehand, because there wasn't much of a discussion about it. He stepped up. Not, I think, the best penalty, but it was good enough. The keeper went the other way, and he kept it low and right into the back of the net. things didn't change. The Hounds kept putting on the pressure, kept looking for more. 10 minutes into the game, there was a free kick just outside the box. And that could have gone in if the keeper hadn't had just the right positioning. I mean, he looked like he was shielded, had to make a quick reaction save where he just stuck his fist up to deflect it over. 20 minutes in, Langston Blackstock scored his first professional goal. And what a goal it was. Coming in again on that left
Oh,
side.
that was
Uh,
just
I mean, and he just looked amazing with the ball at his feet. Defenders were trying to take it away from him, trying to pressure him, and he just kept the ball with multiple defenders coming in and trying to shut him down. Keeper was a little bit off his line, and Langston just ended up able to squeeze it through the keeper in the near post to hit the far side netting. Uh, and then all of the sudden, it's like I was still just absorbing that goal when all of a sudden Hartford makes a back pass to the keeper. He's in front of the goal. EJ just in his face. Johnson pressures Monroe. Monroe goes to clear it, but EJ gets his foot to it and is able somehow to deflect it into
just
the back of
enough
the
to
net.
get it in. Yeah.
Right. Um, uh, Though the Hounds didn't keep the clean sheet because Hartford, 34 minutes in, made an interesting swinging ball again from a left side. It seemed like left sides were really strong last night. Split the center backs, and Dick just looked like he just wasn't aware that the ball was there. Um,
He definitely was caught flat-footed on that
yeah,
one.
yeah.
My view of the goal live was blocked by Amo. And so I had to go back and watch it
Mhm.
because it was I thought Dick saved it from my
Nope.
angle.
Yeah, he
It
just
looked like
totally
he
missed.
saved it and pushed it out. And then the next thing I knew, a Hartford player is carrying the ball back to the middle. I'm like, wait a second, wait, hold on, what
Mhm.
happened?
Yeah, yeah.
And that was almost like the whole crowd's reaction, is
Mhm.
everybody was just in general confused.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this game could have had a few more goals, both by the Hounds and by Hartford. Mertz had an excellent shot just before the 40th minute.
Mhm.
Keeper had to make an acrobatic leap to reach it. It was a great shot to the corner. Uh, EJ almost pressured Monroe into another mistake, but just couldn't keep the ball on frame. Hartford did put the ball in the back of the net, but it was called offside when um, I think that was Misha Inglina
Yeah,
got caught right on the end line on the deflection after a save, and
it
that
was
was
like a deflection. There was two Hounds players right there near it, and they seemed content to think that everybody was away. Like
mhm.
they didn't pick up the Hartford player right there,
Yeah,
and yeah, I'm not quite sure what exactly happened. And then all of a sudden, again, it's in the back of the net, but it's offsides, and I'm
well, and that call took just long enough for my reaction in my mind to go, oh no, this just got really interesting.
yeah,
Right? Like
yeah, that was
and made me a little restless. I was like, how do we respond when all of a sudden we went from a 3-0 lead to a 3-2 game? But it got called off, and I was like, oh, that's great.
Mhm.
The second half, not much of anything happened. I mean, a lot of play in the middle of the field, but not much pressure for either keeper. I mean, each keeper did have a little bit to do. Dick made a good save. Uh, at one point. He had another one that went just wide of the post from outside of the box. Kenny forced another good save out of Monroe towards the end of the game.
I
But
mean, I will genuinely be surprised. All credit to Monroe if Monroe, in spite of shipping 3 goals, doesn't maybe get another chance in goal in the next game. I will actually be genuinely surprised because Monroe kept it from being 6-7-1, easily 6-7-1, and he had to stand on his head a couple times to get back. It's not like this was like early season, we're kicking it right at the goalkeeper kind of shots he's saving. This is like he is getting fingertips on shots he doesn't see to the
sure,
last moment. He's like there was a couple crosses from corners and stuff that I saw that he was not in a great place. So
yeah, yeah.
uh,
I don't know.
I
I mean,
want to give him a lot of credit. I think if the league as a whole is looking for a keeper, if Hartford's not going to keep in Rome, and Rome might be a good backup option or even a starter.
I think he potentially has some hope in that Burke is his manager and not Bob Lilly. Because I think those
Yeah.
two mistakes that EJ forced him to make, one resulting in a goal and the other one could have been a goal as well. I mean, but those are the types of mistakes we've seen experienced keepers lose their starting spot for. I mean,
Yep.
I think those were just as bad as the mistake that Dick made that
Early in the season, yeah,
yeah,
that got him
earlier in the
benched.
season when he lost time after that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Needless to say, though, I mean, it was a fun game. The guys were riled up. I
Oh,
think some things that are big takeaways for me, and we can talk about these. But I want to talk about goal scorers in the stands. I mean,
oh,
just
I'm
let's
loving
take a
this.
look at this. I mean,
I'm
this
loving.
is fantastic. After a penalty, I mean, and Eddie is just up there. I mean, I love that our own Josh Brokaw has his arms around him, holding him up, right?
Oh yeah,
Uh,
that was
I mean,
great.
yeah. Langston was up in the stands too. Unfortunately, I couldn't find a picture of that one. But then there's this one with EJ. I mean, I just love that. Just like look at that, right? Like, and especially after that goal, because
Oh yeah.
I think all three of those guys last night put in great efforts and really made things challenging for Hartford, and we're all rewarded on the score sheet for that. And I think especially seeing Langston with all the time that he's played in Pittsburgh, finally getting the ball in the back of the net when he's had some excellent shots and he's forced some ridiculous saves out of some keepers. To really see that EJ looks like he's got a lot of talent, and I
Oh,
really can't wait
I'm
to see what
loving
we
the way
see from
EJ's
him
playing.
in the future. Yeah.
I'm loving this. I think I said it after the last game. The way he's getting in that backline's head,
Mm-hmm.
the way he's like really putting them under pressure. And so last game, I'm not going to say he was an island, but it was mostly him leading that
Mm-hmm.
high press. This game, it almost seemed like even the defense got
Mm-hmm.
involved in that high press.
Yeah.
Like this is 100% buying into a high
Yep.
press, and I am loving it because it is causing massive
Mm-hmm.
mistakes that are leading to chances that we could have only dreamt of
Right.
in the first half of the season.
Yeah. I mean, I was hanging out with a buddy this afternoon down at the brewery here in Ambridge, and he's a big soccer fan. He's goes to a few Riverhounds games this season, but doesn't always get to watch because of his work schedule. And he didn't get to watch last night, but we were talking about it, and he was asked about last night's game. We were talking about last week's game, and he asked the question. He's like, "Have the Hounds always had such a high press, or have they always pressed up the field like that?" And I think the answer, at least under Bob Lilly, is yes. But I don't think that it has worked as well, at least for an extended period of time, as it has, at least in these past few games that we've seen. Um,
I think we've
and,
seen like
and, and maybe more
moments.
than that this season, right? I mean, I think
Yeah.
we've talked about this a lot, that we needed goals to start going in, but it wasn't that the team was playing badly, other than the conversions. Um,
Mhm.
and that press has been stellar. And you saw it last night. It was great. I mean, where you generally are in the stadium, you've got a pretty good view when the Hounds are attacking the goal by the Paul Child stand, which is what they were attacking in the first half when all those goals came. So tell me kind of what it looked like from your perspective, what you were seeing, where you were seeing some of those lines.
like like the standout, the absolute standout thing. I have some notes from it. Like the standout thing is like EJ is heckling. I don't know what he's saying. I don't know what exactly he's doing, but he is a thorn in the side of whatever central center backs are back there. And I mean, sometimes he just stands there, and they're like, "No, you cannot be wherever you're standing," and that is enough to set them off.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's already starting a like a thing. And then I mean, all season I've watched a two and Blackstock just shoot down the sides and
Mm-hmm.
stream. I'm seeing them stay up more.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm seeing so our 5-3-1 5-3-2 turns into almost I'd say a lot of times it turns into like a 4-1-4
Hmm.
with those two going forward, and then Tommy playing as like or not Tommy, Robbie coming in as a number 10
Hmm.
and playing that like false 9-10 role where he's
Yeah.
still like kind of center maestroing it up, and then just watching everybody weave in and out
Hmm.
just kind of around that to get. I love that they push the line forward, and then there's always at least
Yeah.
two people who drop to like the edge of the box and try to get open there. So if whoever's pushing forward doesn't quite get a good shot, they have
Hmm.
that back pass, they have that cut back or that
Yeah.
cross. Like there's a lot in that area that is going like really, really, really um like well, and we're allowing a lot of defensive cover,
Hmm.
I think, and that's what's really doing the best. Like nobody's worried about having to track back as
Right.
much, so they're able to just let's just heap it on.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
No, and I think one of the things that you're identifying there is uh, we've talked throughout the season about some of the best qualities of Jackson Malty and Bradley Sample. Uh, but I think in the past, maybe, I mean, so one thing I'll say, third game in a row with the exact same lineup. Um,
mhm,
uh, and uh, I think in those games, we've really seen those two guys in particular show a lot more maturity than I think they were showing earlier in the season, despite having some good attributes.
right,
They look like
absolutely.
they've been able to really clean some things up. They're not making the same types of mistakes that each of them were making earlier in the season, and I think what that does, because they are more defensive minded players to begin with. Uh, it really gives a lot of flexibility to drop into kind of what you were talking about, into a little bit different of a double pivot at times, or just having the ability for one of those guys to drift out a little wider. And we saw that numerous times in this game to cover for Etu or Blackstock as they're staying forward, right? And so that makes a big difference. And I think that my big question is, we know there's some injuries on this team. Um, uh, we, I mean, I know after talking to him, Griffin's had an injury, recovering.
Yep.
I was kind of glad not to see him rushed back.
Yeah, we
But
saw him a
that's going to
little
make
bit.
things really interesting when he is healthy, right? Like, what
Hmm.
does it look like to drop one of the players that has played in these past three games just because a player is healthy? No, not just because a player is healthy, right? Like, I mean, we're talking about
Right.
Danny Griffin, the
Yeah,
Iron
we're talking about like the
Riverhounds,
team captain,
the
but then
captain,
also,
the guy that is like
yeah,
just a staple in midfield. But it makes the decision of what do you do, right? Like, I don't think it's like you don't put Danny back in, but you've got a hard decision then at that point.
I think
If
it
you're
also
Bob Lilly
introduces,
and Rob Vincent.
yeah. Oh, I think it also introduces a really nice possibility of could we take off one of the defenders to keep our midfielders on and get Danny back in.
I don't
So
think Bob Lilly ever does
I
that.
don't know that Bob. I don't think Bob would necessarily go that way, but it introduces that possibility of like if we wanted to be aggressive, could we take one of our defenders out, do a four back, because we have two so defensive minded midfielders that they will drop back and cover. I will say the other thing I noticed that I scrawled in my margin is in the last especially two games. I don't think I noticed this 3 games ago, but especially in the last 2 games, it's not about going to the wing and shooting the wings forward.
Mhm.
We've had a lot more play through the middle.
Yes. Uh, and a lot more, not just play through the middle from the build up, but when we're recycling in the attacking third,
Yep.
a lot more direct play into the
We're getting a
box
lot of
from the
attack.
center of the field, as
Mhm.
opposed to continually going out wide and looking for those
And then trying to
wide
cross it in and
crosses. Right.
hoping somebody gets there. Yeah. No,
Right.
this is like I see this guy going in, I'm going to get it to him, and we got a penalty off of that.
Yeah.
We almost got a second penalty off of that same style play, and I think Walty almost drew a third, if not drew a third foul
Hmm.
from basically driving the train through midfield.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that alone is just a change in tactic
Mhm.
from what we've seen all season.
Yeah, yeah, I agree, and I think that there's some things about this game that really stand out to me when beyond the eye test, but when you actually look at some of the numbers in this game. And so we've talked about it here on the pod, I think, from the beginning of the season, the need to get people in the box and do things in the box. After the game against the Roots last weekend, Bob Lilly talked about touches in the box and how important that is, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so this is not a new conversation, but we had 23 touches in the box in this game, which is really nice to see, right? I mean, that's great. We also had 15 shots, 7 of them on target, 3 of them blocked. And so, again, you're seeing the Hounds not being shy. And so, what does that mean? I mean, a 20% conversion rate out of those
Yeah.
15 shots, which is pretty good. But if you had told me that I'd have watched multiple games in a row of the Hounds being coached by Bob Lilly with 15 shots or more a game for
Yeah.
weeks in a row, I would have not a chance, right? And I think that's one of the things that I hope is an indication of an evolution of Bob's trust and of his players and willingness to let the guys make the decision on the field and not overmanage the offense and just say, you see it, take the shot. Like,
Yeah.
because
Stop
now
waiting
we've
for the
got more guys in the box,
perfect
right?
opportunity.
Now we've got more guys in the box where good things can happen when the ball is loose in the box. We saw that against Oakland on the fifth
Mm-hmm.
goal, right? Like that was one of those types of things where I think those good things happen when the ball's in the box. And if you're taking 15 shots and you're crossing the ball into the box or you're passing
And
the
we're
ball into the
getting those
box,
second chance
right,
balls. Like we
right.
have, I think that's what it really comes
Um,
down to is in the last 2 games, we're recovering the ball.
yeah.
We're not letting them clear the ball after an
Mm-hmm.
attempt. We're there to take it over.
And I don't think that that is a tactical change as much as it is a the guys on the field doing the things that they need to do and playing for 60, 90 minutes, whatever it is that they're on the field, knowing that, hey, we've got to give it our all for the majority of the time that we're on the field and we can't be lazy. And I think, again, despite less happening in the second half, um, my perspective was it was more that it just got to be more of a battle and neither team was making as much progress into the attacking third as in the first half that the Hounds did, as opposed to the Hounds not keeping up the pressure.
Yeah.
I,
Oh
I
yeah.
think
No,
Hartford
this
grew into
was
the game and played a much better second half, and that kept the Hounds from being in the attacking third, though they were still in the attacking half quite a bit.
so I will say I did Hartford's change in tactic turned into more the long ball situation.
Mm-hmm.
Really trying to stress out our defensive line. And they were making some progress because they have very pacey forwards.
Mm-hmm.
They had a couple pacey forwards, and they're just like, we're just gonna bomb it in. It was really
Yeah.
interesting watching that because it felt like Hartford played a lot like the Hounds had previously, where they were anxious, they were under the gun, they were trying to get it. It's that like that tension of not quite being where they needed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And whereas the Hounds were like, oh yeah, no, I know I'm slower than this guy, but I trust my teammates to cover for me.
Mm-hmm.
And there just seems to be, I think, maybe just more trust. And maybe they always had the trust, but now it's I'm putting the team on my back, and I know my teammates are putting the team on their back. It's not
Yeah.
just one of us carrying the team anymore, or it
Yep.
doesn't feel like one of us carrying the team anymore.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah. I mean, it was a good game. It was a fun
Oh yeah.
game. It was a beautiful night
Hmm.
last night.
I'm
So
glad they waited the hour to kick off.
yeah, yeah. No, I mean it was great. I mean, would not have been bad as what was it 2 weeks ago where it was just brutally
Oh yeah.
hot.
Brutal.
regardless. But I mean, weird. An 8 o'clock kickoff time for a Hounds game was kind of strange. But um, but but a fun night. And so a few other things that I think are kind of important to talk about. We are uh, almost through this summer of Hounds.
Mm-hmm.
We've had 3 of our 4 July games. Next week, we've got Loudon at home. And so let's just kind of take a look at where things are right now. Uh, uh, Loudon is sitting in 7th place. We're still in 10th place. Uh, but you can see we've got those 2 back-to-back wins in the win column. And so I guess my thing is, as you think about where we are right now and what's left of the season, um, uh, how important does the next few games, Loudon at home, Sacramento away, Detroit away, and then we'll say San Antonio at home?
So Loudon at home and Detroit away are going to be my 2 most important games out of that whole thing because you're
Mhm.
playing against conference
Mhm.
rivals. Um, San Antonio is going to be a big game. Just actually, yeah, San Antonio away is going to be a big game because that's going to be a statement of can the Hounds keep, assuming they win next week. Let's say they win next week. That's going to be like the big statement. Can we continue this on the road?
Sacramento
And
away.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
San
and
Antonio at home 2 weeks after that.
oh, sorry,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah. No, just
Sacramento
making
away.
sure we're on the same
Yeah,
page. Yeah,
nope, sorry,
yeah,
I
yeah.
swapped.
Yeah, those
It's a
those
SA.
teams in the West that we only
They
see once a
blend
year.
in. It's these Western teams, man. Um, but no, like that's going to be the big statement of can we continue this away from home
Mhm.
against top tier opposition?
Mhm.
Um, I think we can, and the key is I think mostly for the players because the players are hopefully we take a win against Loudon. We have the confidence going forward. If that confidence pays off away, we're looking excellent, and we need to
Mhm.
carry that into Detroit. Um, Detroit is a must-win game, not just
Mhm.
because I think they're basically our rival, like they're our straight rival at this point, but Detroit's form is also dipping, and
Mhm.
we're seeing that mid-table dip of form between Indy, Detroit, and whoever the one is next to them.
Uh,
Uh,
Birmingham.
yes, so we're seeing that dip there, and so we're getting a very opportunistic match against Detroit
Mhm.
with that dip. And it'd be really good to take advantage of it.
Yeah, yeah. No,
Um,
I think I agree with pretty much everything you're saying. I I think especially uh, I, after the past 2 weeks, where to be clear, was it the Hounds have scored 19 goals this season, and
mhm.
8 of them have come in the past 180 minutes. We found our ability to score, and I saw it last night. Even when nothing was going on yet in those first couple of minutes, which didn't last long, right?
No, no, it was great.
But they didn't look like they were stressed when they were moving forward. They didn't look like they just looked at ease. And then once that penalty was won and Kizza put it in, I mean, again that attitude and feeling that I think the guys are playing with now, where it's like, okay, we're past that spot of where we couldn't buy a goal no matter what we did. Um,
Mhm.
Kind of puts me in the position of like, yeah, Loudon's a 3 point game because why wouldn't it be at this stage? Um, are they good enough to score against the Hounds defense? I don't think so. Are we good enough now to score against their defense? We should be, and I expect us to be.
I mean, with the way they've been playing, especially last night, I don't care if Loudon scores. I think we'll score more.
That's
I,
fair.
I would like us to not let them score,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't care because
But
we've shown we can outscore our opponent, and
sure,
we just need to keep it going. And I'm a little worried what happens if they were to score before us. Yes, that's always a thought in the back of my mind. But I think if we get the first goal, I think we're okay.
Yeah. But I also want uh, to point out that uh, there are only seven other teams that have as many or more clean sheets as the Hounds do.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
right. So it's not that I'm worried about the Hounds uh, giving up goals and losing big games. Right. Sure, anything is possible on any given night, but uh, what is it? There's Charleston has 11, Sacramento has 9, Tampa has 8, and then there's a bunch of other teams that have 7 along with the Hounds.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so knowing that we can keep the ball out of our net, um, and that we've now found a way to figure out that, hey, we're not unable to score, uh, puts me in that position where why would we not walk out of a game at home against
Yeah.
Louisville with 3 points? Um, if we go on the road to Sacramento, get a result, I'm really happy with that. Um, and then you're right. I think Detroit is the game that is really critical for me in that being able to have a statement game against a team that there is not just animosity, I think, from the fans in terms of disliking the team,
Yeah, but the team
Detroit.
itself.
Um, but especially after what we've seen so far uh, against them in their time in the league, right? Like they're just like you just don't want to like it's a
Yeah.
team that uh I don't know, right? Like for me
I mean, I
it's
would love for people to trace back Detroit's 2 losses to the Hounds as the reason they didn't make the playoffs or something like that. It's kind of like revenge from last season. That would be real revenge. You guys didn't make the playoff in 24 because the Hounds got revenge from 23. Like,
well yeah. So yeah, I mean so critical game stretch of games coming up.
mhm.
Um all right, so I'm going to give you those 4 games: Loudoun, Sacramento, Detroit, San Antonio. Uh, possible 12 points. What do you think is needed for the Hounds to uh, keep pace and put themselves in position to be fighting for that playoff spot?
I'm gonna say eight.
Okay.
I'm gonna say 8. 2 wins, 2 draws. I'm okay with the away draws if that's what it takes,
Mm-hmm.
but we have to win at home.
Okay.
For the rest of the season, we have to win at home.
Mm-hmm.
There's no real alternative. A win away gives us some breathing room, but especially with where our position is, we're seeing Rhode Island have an amazing turn of form. We're seeing Tampa Bay, Charleston, Louisville. I don't think we're going to catch the top 3, but if we want to sneak in to like that bottom, if we want a home game, even we got to get to 4, and we're 8 points out of 4th,
Mm-hmm.
right? We're we're 4 points out of 8th, so we're 4 points away from even making the playoffs to begin with. I say 8 will probably be what it's going to take for us to start really making ground on Rhode Island.
Mm-hmm.
Um, unless one of our mid-table friends decides to really start doing poorly, but I think that's what
Well,
we're looking at.
yeah. Not that this is one of those teams that we're playing, but I think there's also a little bit of historic precedent, and I'm hoping this is going to happen, especially with what's going on in the Open Cup. But that in the league, Indy does their August implosion and just cascades down the
Yep.
table like they've done so many times before, which kind of opens things up a little bit for everybody else, including the Hounds. I think I I think I'm really happy if we come out of those 4 games with 7 points. Um, I can see uh, a 0-1 or 0-0 game in Sacramento.
Yep.
And just being satisfied if you know what we go in and it's a far trip, um, uh, it's not the most priority game, it's a late game. Um, if we don't get a result in that game, I'm okay. But if we take a point, take 3 points from Loudoun, take 3 points from Detroit, get a point or 3 from San Antonio. Um, I'm now
I think
realizing I have no idea how San. Oh no, we
San
should beat San Antonio.
Antonio,
San
we
Antonio's
should collect
crap
a
this
3.
year.
Yeah.
I
So for me,
I'm
the
used to
two
them being
maybes
better.
are the away
Yeah.
games. Yeah. So
No, but I'm going
that's what
9
I'm
points.
saying.
I'm going
Yeah.
9 points. Yeah.
You're going.
6 in the
Yeah.
East, 3 against
No.
San Antonio, and we'll take one against Sacramento. So,
Yeah. No. I would love the 1 point against Sacramento. I think for me, the Sacramento game is important because of their standing in the West and kind of the Hounds thinking ahead to the playoffs. I know that's really really far ahead, but thinking to if we make it to the playoff finals, if we make it to the USL Championship game, who are we probably going to be playing? You're going to be playing a
I mean,
team
hey,
like
let
Sacramento.
Sacramento think that we're not as good because they beat us
Oh yeah, no,
at
absolutely. I
home
love.
in the regular season and thought they were so much better despite uh, us having just broken out for a bunch of goals in 3 games. And then we go into Sacramento in the final and win the cup, right? Yeah,
I wouldn't complain about that
I,
either.
I would take that. Um,
Uh,
so yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
that's good to
so
know.
here's where we're at. 5 wins on the season now, holding steady, not dropping points currently. Like I said, 8 goals in the past 2 games. Um, let's go Hounds, right?
Let's go
Mondo,
Hounds.
any last thoughts?
Uh no, I'm pumped. I'm looking forward to next week. Um, I'm I'm really excited to see what comes out of Danny being healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I'm really curious to see because I think we have a very 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 talented midfield,
Mm-hmm.
and last game showed us, not the most recent one, the one before, showed us the midfield can score when the forwards can't. Last game showed us forwards can score again. So, I'm. It looks like all the Pistons are turning. I'm excited,
Yeah,
and I love that it's a grudge match against our not quite rivals of Loudon. So,
yeah. All right. Well, everybody, thanks for joining us. Mondo, great talking with you. Better talking about a Hounds win with you.
yeah,
Yeah. And for once, it was just you and I, and we didn't bring up our other mutual team. So that's a win as well for us
I
and for the
know
fans of Mongols, right?
we did so good.
Yeah, so you guys know where to find us: Instagram, your favorite podcast player, YouTube. Um, uh, go listen to all the shows. I have no idea what Mike is planning on putting out this week, but I know he'll be putting things out. Um, uh, but yeah. We've got that game coming up against Loudon, and I think there'll be a decent number of Mongols people from out of town
In
that
next week.
might be at that game as well. So come over, come say hi to us, and we'll see you guys very, very soon.
Yeah, and this is the way.
See ya.